Welcome back. We are live from WiCyS 2026. I am Jackie McGuire, your host for Women in the Middle, and I am joined by Noureen Njoroge. Noureen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
You are on the board of WiCyS, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. How did you first discover WiCyS?
I bumped into somebody who had attended a conference and they told me about WiCyS, and I was interested in switching from engineering to cybersecurity. Okay. And I decided, let me join WiCyS. Maybe that's where I'll get my footprint. I'm glad I made that decision because I've never looked back.
Yeah. So your first WiCyS conference, did you know what to expect?
No, but I'm a curious person.
Yeah.
So, and my curiosity was fed when I attended the conference.
Yeah, and what was it that drew you to cybersecurity?
Curiosity. Yeah. I was curious to know what is this new technology that's going to be on the front line of our industry. And my curiosity led me into cyber.
Awesome. Yeah, and so on the board of WiCyS, is there something specific that obviously you're very talented, but what do you do for the WiCyS board?
We do a lot, but I specifically specialize in mentoring and coaching and helping the program, craft the program to make sure that it's inclusive. Okay. And also partner with a lot of my peers in the industry to find out what gaps and loopholes we might be missing so that we can fill and be able to help the students and upcoming people in the industry to find a space in cybersecurity.
I interviewed Archana yesterday, and so she was talking about how mentorship at WiCyS is very structured, and how that's beneficial because sometimes we just expect that a senior person will know how to mentor and know what a mentee wants to get out of it. So how do you think about that in terms of providing structure and what you want people to get out of those programs?
Structure is very important because when the person is coming to you for mentorship, they're very vulnerable, in a vulnerable state, and you want them to live there with confidence and with assurance that they got it, they can do it. So that's why we have to have a structure that is one, not only just meets the mentee, but also the mentor. I've been in a situation where I went in as a mentor and it ended up being a mentee, and it became a transactional situation. Yeah. So having that structure, meaning it's not rigid, it can be malleable, meaning it can flow either direction. Yeah. The mentor can become a mentee and the mentee become a mentor, and that way we continue exchanging and brainstorming together, but still remaining on the structure and the strategy of mentorship.
Yeah, and I assume you've benefited from mentorship in your life?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm here because of the shoulders of my mentors that I've stood on. My first mentor, whom I reached out to, was in the industry for a very, very long time. And I asked them, do you mind mentoring me? I didn't know what I was asking, but I just needed guidance. Yeah. We claim it to be mentorship, and some people can get deterred by that name. But when I walked in, I was like, I would like to tap your shoulder because I see the skill sets that you have and where you are right now that can help me guide in my path. And I'm glad they said yes. Yeah. And from that, what I benefited from my mentorship, I was like, I wonder how many other women or other girls out there would be looking for such opportunity. Yeah. So I stepped into that role to help. I created a mentor and mentee women in cybersecurity to help others find mentors. That's
amazing, yeah. So as WiCyS has grown and evolved, has the way you think about mentorship evolved with it?
Yes. Yeah. One, because the industry is constantly changing. Secondly, is people are coming from diverse and non-technical career path or non-traditional career path. So as much as you want to mentor them from IT and what have you, you're finding neuroscientists, journalists, educators who want to transition to cyber. So you have to change your mindset on how you coach and provide guidance to such individuals.
Are there common misconceptions you feel like mentees have when they go into be mentored, things they expect that is not really what a mentorship should be?
Yes, they think the mentor has all the answers, which is not the case. And then the other misconception is they think that the mentor is to do all the job. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But a mentor is, I usually say a mentor is a person who sees skill sets in you that you didn't even know you had, right? And once they pull those out of you, it's your job not to continue nurturing them so that you can continue advancing in your career.
Yeah, awesome. So we're at kind of an inflection point in technology in general, but especially in cybersecurity. AI has definitely kind of reshaped how we're thinking about things, how we're thinking about tackling the challenges. And I know in your day job, you have a huge amount of information to protect. So how are you thinking about that in terms of the different skill sets maybe WiCyS should be offering and the different things that you also as a senior leader need to be going after in your career?
That's a good question. I like the industry because it's constantly changing, so never a dull moment. And so we always have to understand we are here to serve the business. So once you understand the business acumen, then we can go back and tailor our mentorship programs so that when the individual goes back to their company, they are participating or providing insights into the business, right? And also just pivoting very quickly because the landscape is constantly changing, especially now that you mentioned with AI, and telling people be open, don't be afraid, tap into it. And when you go back to your company, ask your leaders questions, how are we enabling this, or how can I participate to do that? So our programs here at WiCyS are constantly changing in that aspect because we find that if you remain constant in what you're doing, you're going to be left behind. And we want to adapt with the times and technology. And then giving people an open space, be open mind, bring your ideas to the table, and then diverse thought of leadership helps us to lead to the next level.
Yeah. So oftentimes in security, you can't really tell people what to do. Usually, from my perspective, you find yourself having to try to influence behavior and work collaboratively. So how do you go about that as a leader in kind of building consensus and momentum and trying to influence behavior, since you can't just tell them to stop doing
That's a
risky
good question.
things?
Yes. However, as a leader, my leadership is transformational. I lead by creating a space where people come and bring their thoughts. And then from the thoughts they bring at the table, that's what we're going to run and do. As opposed to me walking in the table and saying, this is what we're going to do. I've already closed on the loop of, I don't want to hear from you, but I want to hear from you. So I create that space, bring your ideas, let's talk about it, let's brainstorm, and then as a team, let's go achieve that. There's some pitfalls that maybe we don't want to step into, and that's why it's good to set expectations so that you don't end up where you're not supposed to be at.
And do you find that making people feel safe to bring ideas allows you to get involved earlier in the process rather than having to clean the mess up after the fact?
100%, because I want people to enjoy the job they're doing. I want them to feel valued. I want them to feel I can go in there, I have an idea, because I'm that kind of person too. So I want people to bring their self, the authentic self with their ideas, and to feel that they are welcome on the table. And maybe we might not accept your idea today, but tomorrow it might be the idea we might be running with. So if we say no today, does not mean we're not going to address it. It's maybe it's not a top priority, and therefore we're going to address the most top priority, and then tomorrow we're going to reach out to the idea that you brought at the table.
So after you've joined the board of WiCyS, how has what you are looking to get out of the conference changed?
So many ways. Meeting new people. For me, it's the human element. I'm walking around looking at everybody who has a first-time attendee badge, and I'm stopping to say hello, thank you for coming for WiCyS. And I would have not have met these people. Why not at the WiCyS? Not only just even being on the board, just not being at the conference. So being in the rooms with these people, it's phenomenal. It's life-changing.
And what does success look like for you?
That's a good question. Hopeful, right? Because the future is bright. And the number of mentees I've walked along the journey with give me that glimpse of hope. We are in a better position for our future leaders. And for the mentees, the mentors who mentor me, give me the confidence and hope saying we can continue carrying on with this journey. So mentoring others for the future and then being mentored to continue, I think it's a successful journey, and I consider it not a sprint but a marathon. So pace yourself, They're gonna be rough tides because the industry is constantly changing and the threat landscape also is changing. But be curious, and then without a community, you can't succeed. So part of my success is also being in a community with people who are in the same journey with me.
This is probably some of what you just said, but if you're talking to somebody who is either just getting out of high school or in college and thinking about getting into a career in cybersecurity, is there anything that you tell them that you wish you would have known when you kind of first started your journey?
Yes, get a mentor.
Yeah.
Get a mentor. Yeah. Get a mentor as soon as possible, and not just one, many.
Yeah.
Many mentors, because people bring diverse thoughts and ideas at the same time.
Yeah, one of the common kind of themes over the last 2 days as I've been interviewing people and talking is that people tend to underestimate how much other people want to help. And I think if you approach people with a selfish ask, you're like, hey, I need to get a job. Like, could you help me get a job? Like, that's not really realistic. But if it's an approach with like, hey, could you help me figure out how to be a better candidate for this role? Could you help me figure out where to look for this information? When you spend 10, 20, 30 years accumulating experience and information, sometimes the best thing you can do with it is pass it on. So,
right. And I find when you're going into that mentorship role, it would be good for you to do research about that individual. So you're not just going blindly.
Yeah.
And then you can do the introduction of, I've seen you've been in this industry for this long time, you've achieved XYZ, that's why I aspire to be. Would you mind me tapping your shoulder and learn a few things from you? That's unwelcoming as opposed to, I want you to be my mentor.
Yeah. Right. I think a lot of times it's how you ask for help, not if you ask for help, right? Any other thoughts you want to share with everybody listening?
I want to say thank you so much for coming to WiCyS. It's a community where we recruit, retrain, and advance women in cybersecurity. Find a mentor, and if you haven't found one, reach out to me and I'll help you find another one.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Noureen, so much for being here. Really appreciate you sharing all the information and insights and everything that you do for the board and WiCyS in general.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be back soon with more live from WiCyS 2026. Welcome to day 2 of WiCyS 2026. This is Jackie McGuire. I'm the host for WiCyS Woman in the Middle, and I am here with Mary Jane Suarez-Partain, better known as MJ to the WiCyS crew. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. How was your first day of the conference?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was a long day, but we survived. So you are Director of Programs at
Yes,
WiCyS?
ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And what does that entail?
So all of the programming initiatives that we have, all the educational opportunities are under my purview. And that's typically about, at any given time, about 20 programs that are running at different stages. And we provide programming for all stages, so early, mid, and senior level career. And then we also look at skill gaps to make sure that we're addressing those so that all of our members are getting the skills that they need to be in the jobs that they want, to have the future that they want.
Yeah, so I interviewed Lynn and Will Marco yesterday, and they presented some of the findings in regard to being a member of WiCyS and upskilling and things like that. And so are you using that research to help guide some of what you do with programs?
100%. So we make data-driven choices. We think that that's probably the best and most methodical way to make sure that our members are getting that value-added proposition. So 100%. That's why we are involved in research, is trying to figure out where are the trends, what are the skill gaps, and how can we mediate that.
And when you initially joined and started doing programs, did you have goals? Did you have anything in mind that you wanted to achieve? And how long have you been doing it?
So I've been involved with WiCyS for almost 9 years. I spent 5 years as a senior advisor, as a volunteer. Okay. So I come from higher ed. I was in higher ed for several decades. And then fell in love with WiCyS through Janelle Strzok, through Dr. Strzok, who is the chair of the conference committee. And that's how I started volunteering. And then when they developed a position, I was invited to apply. So I was just overwhelmed. It wasn't a position that I sought out, but one that I was so gratified to be offered.
Yeah. I joined as a volunteer as well, and it's been pretty amazing to progress and kind of go from just, hanging out in the Career Hub. I think I spoke at my first WiCyS and then spent last year in the Career Hub, and now I'm involved in all kinds of things.
It's
so
an amazing, supportive community.
Yeah, and it's one where I feel like I got so much out of it that I approached Lynn and was like, how can I give back? What can I do?
Yes.
So when you're thinking about programming, how does it differ when you're thinking about programming for maybe early career versus mid-career versus late career? Are there different things that you try to offer in terms of the skills gaps that you see?
For sure. Yes, it really depends on, and that's where we part of that is that we look at the data. We look at where the skill gaps are per level. And we try to make sure that there's, some programs that are low-hanging fruit that are easy to get into, an easy pathway into the organization, especially for folks who are coming out of cyber or who haven't been introduced to cyber or just like dipping their toe in the cyber security pond. We try to offer them things that are gamified and more fun so that they can realize that it's not just about hacking or certain aspects that they might have thought in advance were cybersecurity, learning that that's not actually, it's problem solving. So we think about that at every stage and what makes sense for each stage of career.
As WiCyS has grown, it feels like we're kind of in this transition period. One, this conference is huge. It's amazing to see how many different women are here. But obviously with AI and machine learning kind of really dominating the conversations I'm having a lot of the time, I imagine that's going to change the type of content that you offer and the questions that people have. So how are you thinking about that and maybe adapting training to those I think they're both skills that people are looking for, but also concerns that they have about their career trajectory?
100%. They actually, AI machine learning, thread their way through all kinds of programming for WiCyS. And we're very fortunate that we were ahead of the curve. We're not trying to cram it in now. We've been doing AI-focused training for over a year in different ways. So as part of smaller programs, there might be a one-off, one-day course subject matter expert that comes in and talks about, how to do the correct way to prompt. For some of our more elongated programming, like we have an AI learning series, that's 6 sessions and it goes over all of the major components that you need within your career. So it's threaded in different ways in different spaces, but it's even a part of like our book club.
Yeah.
So wherever it makes sense to be, that's where it is.
Yeah. What guidance do you give women who are early in their career in terms of choosing a path, figuring out what type of training that they want and that kind of thing?
Well, especially if you're not coming from within cybersecurity, you have very little knowledge. The thing that I really like to encourage people to do is join the mentor program. If you're a part of a mentorship program, then you're a part of a relationship, and not just a singular relationship. There's usually a group of 4 to 5, including the mentor. That'll give you a good purview of, how do I feel like I fit within this space? What are some things that I should consider? I just love that supportive environment for growing and learning and trying to figure out, okay, where is it that I belong? And then also we have assessments that we offer, again, as part of the data-driven, where you have the opportunity to take an assessment and see what your natural predilections are for. What are you naturally good at? And then leading into those. Or what are you deficient in? And then leaning into getting additional training for that. So there's just so many different ways and so many different experiences. But if I were like, where should I start? I would say the mentorship program.
Awesome. What do you wish that you had known at the beginning of your career that you know now?
That mostly everybody doesn't really know what they're doing.
I always tell people being an adult is BS. Like it's just
it's crazy.
Thing
I've always lived, and they're like, "Who's in charge?" And I'm like, "Who is it? Yeah. Oh, it's me."
Uh-oh.
So weird, so weird,
Yeah.
so weird. I think that's the thing is that most of us know just a little bit, but really be curious and be willing to say what you do and don't know.
Yeah.
Be willing to step into places and spaces where you might feel a little bit uncomfortable to grow, but realize everybody's figuring it out every day, and they're doing the best that they can with what they have at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing. Like I think when I was much younger, I thought, okay, when I'm 30, I'll know everything.
Yeah.
You turn 30 and you're like, I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
You turn 50, you're like, I really don't know anything. And now my back hurts.
Yeah.
So it's just it's an interesting progression.
Everybody's faking it. Like everybody is faking
really
seeking
are.
it.
They really are. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found, I came to security through data science. I didn't even know what a SIM was when I got hired to help build detections for one. And I think I felt a little bit insecure about that at first, but as I've joined more technical circles and groups of people who actually do hacking and open source intelligence and threat intelligence, I find that it's all of the stuff that's not security that I bring to the table that's really impactful.
Yes.
Because a lot of these people have spent 20, 25 years in security, and so
And only in security.
Yeah.
So their knowledge is very insular and very subject matter. It's deep, but not wide.
Yeah.
And so you bring that differentiation, that perspective, and that outside, what about this? And that's where the richness comes in, I feel like.
Yeah, and every time I say in one of those circles, like, I've never triaged alerts in a SIM, you guys are all smarter than I am. They're like, yeah, but like, you know how to balance a 401k and we don't. I'm like, that is true. And so
really is.
I had somebody ask me to do a session on finance at the next security conference because they were like, we've all worked in tech, we've all got like 401ks and investment portfolios, but we don't know what we're doing with them. And so I was like, that is true. Like I do bring some weird background from.
Yeah, but really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also, I think it's changed some of the ways that I see things in security, because I think if you've only ever worked in security, like when you look at like a syslog or a sysmon, something like that, you might look for one particular thing.
Yes.
Where I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm going to look at all the things, right?
That's why it's important that when you walk into a room that you're seeing different types of folks in that room, because they're bringing different perspectives. And if they have different perspectives, different backgrounds, they're going to think of problems and solutions in a different capacity. And it just creates a stronger structure and a better team.
Yeah, it's one of the things that being at the conference, not only are there a lot of women here, it's a very diverse group of women.
It really is, yes.
The proportion of women of color that are here, I think, is amazing.
Yes.
And as we are building out a technology that may fundamentally transform our society, I keep reminding people that if we want that to benefit everybody,
then everybody needs to be at the discussion table.
Yeah, it needs to be built by everybody, because there are
100%.
different cultural nuances and gender nuances and things like that we don't necessarily consider. The same is true in medicine. There's all kinds of places where this is true, but it's been amazing to kind of look around and be like, we have virtually every kind of woman you could want represented at these tables, every age, so it's really amazing. So as WiCyS continues to grow, what do you hope to see in the next few years in terms of how programs evolve and what you can offer over the course of the 2020s?
It's so crazy to say. When someone says like 1980 was 40 years ago, I'm like, stop lying.
Yeah.
Stop lying.
I have one of the t-shirts that says, "Be gentle with me, I'm from the 1900s."
Yes, 100%. I could die on the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
I would just say I'm excited by the way that we think and the way that we do things, that we're willing to say, oh, I don't know much about this. Come sit at the table with me and help guide me. But that we make data-driven, data-informed decisions. And that we continue to do that. As long as we're involved in the research, which is a part of the organization, and that we're using that to make decisions about how we go about educating our members and providing that value for them, I'm just excited about the way that we operate and the way that we could change and the things that we could learn. We're extremely nimble, extremely flexible, and so I think that positions us very well for the future.
All right, and if you're say, I met high school students yesterday, I met early college students. What is your advice to them in terms of how to think about the WiCyS conference and what they want to get out of it?
I would really look at those opportunities to connect with people. Make sure, even if your LinkedIn isn't beautiful, even if it isn't perfect, find a way to be collecting those contacts so that you can be leveraging those resources, because that's what we all are. And that's what we all want to be. We want to help you get to the next level, whatever that next level is. If it is, I don't know how to open up a 401k, or I don't know how to sign up for this class, or I need to be able to, stand up for myself with this faculty member that just keeps dismissing me because I'm the only girl in class. Look for those people that are willing to come into your circle to build you up, because that's why we're all here. So look at it as an opportunity to make friends, to build relationships, and then leverage those resources once you leave. It does you no good to make all these connections and then not do something with them. It's like you're collecting all these beautiful crayons and then you don't color in the coloring book.
I wish it hadn't taken me as long to learn how to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you shouldn't need it.
You should know how to do it. Yeah, 100%.
But I think helping people is one of the most rewarding things about getting old.
It is. You're like, I already fell down when I did that.
Yeah.
So here's how you not fall on your face.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I walk into a room 5 times a day and don't know what I'm there for because my brain is so full of stuff. And
Yes,
like,
yes.
what's the point of that if I'm not going to share that stuff?
100%. Yeah. Get it out of your brain.
Yeah. MJ, thank you so much for joining us today. Really look forward to hanging out the next couple days at the conference and seeing how
you.
programs evolve.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more interviews live from WiCyS 2026. Welcome back. We are live from WiCyS 2026. I'm Jackie McGuire. I'm your host of Woman in the Middle, and I have Haley Reyes with me. Welcome, Haley.
Hello.
You are going to be the featured story on the WiCyS stage on Friday, right?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. All right, so that must mean that you have a pretty interesting story about getting into cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got into cybersecurity with my partner in crime, who you will see on stage tomorrow too, Sage Despain. And honestly, our journey to here has been filled with ups and downs.
As any good story arc is.
Absolutely.
I interviewed Sage yesterday. She's amazing. And for as early in your careers as you are, you guys are doing some amazing things. So how many WiCyS conferences have you been to?
I've only been to one previously, and this year is my second time attending.
All right, so you were here last year when it was in Dallas?
Yes.
I was there too. I spent almost the whole time in the Career Hub, so I didn't actually venture out to any sessions. The previous year, I was able to get a whole bunch of content in. But how did you come to cybersecurity? How did you get into cybersecurity?
When I first met Sage, I had failed my midterm for calculus, and she wanted to cheer me up, so she told me that she had extra tickets to the Aspen Cyber Summit, which was my first ever conference.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I failed calculus the first time I took it, and it wasn't until I took applied calculus for data science that I actually understood calculus. I think a lot of people have an issue with calculus can be really abstract, and if you're not applying it to something where you can see, okay, I'm doing these things for a reason and it's going to lead somewhere. My partner's doing electrical engineering, getting his bachelor's, and also had the same issue. It was like, this is so hard. I was like, don't worry, when you're actually using it to solve engineering problems, it'll make a lot more sense. How did calculus go after your conference?
I really didn't care after that. I was like, well, there's so many other things in the world, so as long as I slid by with a C, I was fine.
Yeah, well, that's like people who get a D and still graduate from college, right? You just don't want to tell people that, but yeah. So what was it that appealed to you about cybersecurity when you went to your first conference?
Yes, so I had recently joined a scholarship program that really encompasses cybersecurity, and I knew I really wanted to do something since I was like a little kid. So I was like always on the computer. I wasn't doing any of the cool stuff, you know, like hacking into stuff, but I was on there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very much online as well. And so when you came to your first WiCyS conference last year, was there anything that stood out to you or that surprised you that you didn't expect?
Yes, the community. The community is always my favorite part of any like industry. And WiCys's community is the best community in my opinion. That's why I'm a diehard, and that's why I will ride on WiCys's coattails for as long as I can.
Yeah, it really is. It's a very open and welcoming place. And that's one of the things I think, you know, it can be intimidating to be in large groups of people who you know are subject matter experts, but people here are super friendly.
They are. My first WiCyS conference, I had no idea where I was going, and I really wanted to say something to someone. Yeah. So I tapped someone on the shoulder. They were just walking the halls, and they turned around and said, "Hi, how can I help you?" Yeah. It's like really friendly, customer service friendly.
Yeah. I think in cybersecurity, a lot of times, a lot of people work remotely, and personally, like I work remotely and I miss people. So anytime I get in a big group of people, and especially this one where like I think you kind of instantly feel like you're a part of something here.
Yes.
You know, you don't feel like an outsider trying to join in. It's more like, oh, these are my people. Like, this is where I belong. And it's pretty unusual to have like negative interactions or standoffish people here. Like, everybody comes here to connect. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that's my favorite part about, just being here at this conference in particularly. I've gone to so many different conferences throughout my cyber journey so far. Did I mention that I only started last year?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes. So far, this is by far, the favorite conference so far.
Yeah.
I've been to like really major ones like RSA, and that's how I first met or was introduced to the Sober and Cyber and the Women in Security and Privacy, the Diana Initiative, and so many other organizations.
Yeah, so I am a huge sponsor of Sober and Cyber. I am actually the platinum sponsor for them at their party at RSA this year. Jen Van Antwerp, who runs Sober and Cyber. She's a good friend. She's a wonderful person. I've been very fortunate to be able to sponsor. Goodness, I think I sponsored RSA and Black Hat last year. And then when she reached out about RSA this year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to upgrade. I'm not going to be a gold sponsor. I'm going to be the platinum sponsor this year. It's really, sobriety for me is a choice. It's just something that, I think it's because I'm neurospicy. I've always hated the taste of alcohol, but also I think as much as people think it like loosens people up, it also makes it hard to genuinely connect with people when everybody at a happy hour is a little tipsy and like they don't remember your conversations the next day. So I don't know. I think I'm just as much fun stone cold sober as I am when I'm drinking. So yeah, it's when I found out that. And what I love about Sober and Cyber is not only do they sponsor their own completely sober parties, but I was at Cactus Con just a couple last month. I don't know, times of warp. I'm in a time warp, but they also sponsored a sober station at a regular happy hour so that there were a bunch of non-alcoholic drinks that you could choose from. And it's nice to feel a little bit more included in those spaces. So what was your experience with Sober and Cyber?
So Sober and Cyber has been my favorite organization just because they bring sobriety into the cyber space. Because like a lot of times when I went to like different conferences, everyone would have like a happy hour, but no one would be, like you said, sober afterwards. And Sage and I, we aren't really big drinkers.
Yeah.
Sage has, health conditions that don't allow her to drink. So I'm kind of like, well, if Sage isn't drinking, I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, a little bit about me. But my background with alcohol, really is, a touchy subject for me. Just because, like, I believe that if someone isn't sober, then they aren't in their right mind.
Yeah.
And if they can't say something that sober, then, when they're intoxicated, it doesn't really count.
Well, I think vice versa too. Like people try to say, "Oh, I only said that because I was intoxicated." It's like, well, that's in your character somewhere, so I don't buy that. Yeah, and just to address the elephant in the room, quite frankly, I've worked in finance, I've worked in venture capital, less so in cybersecurity, but it doesn't always feel safe to be in a room full of intoxicated, mostly men. So when you work in a male-dominated industry and the alcohol starts flowing, a lot of times pretty quickly into that happy hour, I leave because when people start losing control of themselves, it starts feeling unsafe. So just personal experience. So shout out Jen, shout out Sober and Cyber. And then we were talking before we started recording, I also support a lot of initiatives focused on mental health and cybersecurity. And that's also something that's really important to me because being someone who's gone through, multiple different life events, health problems, it can be hard to manage, especially the work we do is intense. And I was very fortunate this year. I was able to bring my partner to summer camp with me. And for anybody who is uninitiated, we call the combination of, Black Hat, DEF CON, and the other kind of side conferences, Hacker Summer Camp. And he was able to watch some of really intense presentations I watch about like, people exploiting children online and things like that. And he was like, whoa. And I said, yeah, now you know why sometimes I look like I got punched in the face when I get done watching a webinar, or, I'm like, we deal with really intense stuff and people don't always take time to focus on their mental health. So I think it's important.
It really does. And that's also like something that's important to me. I always tell people, like, when I get my first job, the first thing I'm going to do is go find a therapist.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that's good for everybody. I think it's always, even if you don't feel like you have something wrong, it's always nice to have an impartial third party to talk to about things. So yeah, it's something that's super important to me. So let me ask you, we're in a crazy transition period in our industry right now. Obviously, AI is disrupting a lot of things, the world, geopolitics, like everything is kind of in turmoil. So how do you think about your career as it relates to like navigating those things and how you're going to choose kind of which path you want to take through security?
Yeah, so AI has been a really big topic in the in the last year. So we've seen a lot of things like hallucinations, which isn't really my favorite part, and integrations to a lot of like different systems, which it really isn't my favorite part either. Just because of the hallucinations and navigating the space and where I want to be, I really think about, well, AI is something that every corporation is going to use eventually. For many reasons, mainly the money factor. So my special interest is in OSINT, and I'm looking into cybersecurity careers based on cyber intelligence. And so I really think about, how am I going to use and leverage AI? Like, what can I do to make myself stand out? And so right now I'm just figuring out what AI does.
So OSINT is one of my favorite parts of cybersecurity. I have many friends who are better at it than I am, but I've actually been able to use it for all kinds of good. I recently got involved in like some political things in my town, dealing with kind of public corruption and things like that, and have a couple friends who are able to just go down rabbit holes pulling public documents and things like that. And so it is really one of those things that you can use it as a tool for good. And I think it's pretty awesome. So when you think about risk, so you're talking about hallucinations. So how do you, as you're using AI, how do you think about the risks associated with that? And do you double check your work?
Absolutely, I double check my work every single time. Just because like a lot of the times I have a hard time like writing cohesive sentences. So I usually like slap it into AI just to find where my grammar mistakes are, because whenever I'm not sure, because I haven't been tested or anything, I'm not sure if I have reading issues or something, but I always miss like the mistakes that I've made. And sometimes I'm a little bit of a procrastinator, just a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, girl, I am ADHD and autistic, so same. It's always the kind of paralysis of when you have the one thing. Like my house is never as clean as it is when I have something to do that I don't want to do, or like a work task to complete, because I'll find like every other thing I could possibly do that's not that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I think a lot of us struggle with, is like dealing with executive dysfunction. That is one thing. It's like Grammarly on steroids. So that's one of the things that AI is pretty decent with. But I think, to your point, it's a tool. And so if you learn to, I always think of it as like a semi-competent intern. Like if you think like, would I give this work to an intern? Yes. And then I would double check it and verify, So I think if you're using it that way, it can be a lot easier to not fall into the trap of just
full-on dependency.
Yeah. And I actually I don't really like the term hallucinations, because I think that kind of elicits the idea that the things come out of nowhere. And they really don't, because whatever it's regurgitating is in the training data somewhere. So it's more that in this giant matrix of tokens, these two things are connected and we really don't know why. And that's one of the real dangers with LLMs specifically, right? Is that they, especially Western LLMs, were trained on the Western internet, and the Western internet is trash.
It's crazy.
Like Reddit is one of the common, Reddit is one of the things that they train on quite a bit. And like, I don't know if you've ever read or subreddit, but there are a lot of experts on subreddits that don't know what they're talking about.
I've read a couple recipes on there.
Yeah. Man, AI really can't differentiate between satire, sarcasm, stupidity, misinformation, and so I think as long as you're really careful and think about, if you understand that AI doesn't understand facts, it understands tokens, and it's basically like really, really intricate Mad Libs, I think you can use it in a more responsible way.
Yes, and I'm trying to scale back on my use of AI, so I'm trying to learn the English language again, because I'm not very good at it in grade school up until college. When I didn't have to take English anymore, I straight got C's and B's.
Yeah. Well, and I think being online all the time doesn't help with that, right?
It skewers it, yeah.
Yeah, because when you're texting or you're on social media, there's not really an emphasis on being verbose and grammatically accurate. So so I think we all struggle with that. So to wrap up. Last year you were new, so you were kind of navigating WiCyS. Coming into this year, now that you kind of knew a little bit what to expect, how did what you were looking for from the conference change?
Yes, so my start point, I was at ground zero, and now I'm like at level 15. So right now I'm really I'm more targeted in my approach to what I really want to see out of the conference. So talk to cyber intelligence people, go look at OSINT webinars and, just talks, and figure out if my resume is job ready.
Awesome. Well, Haley, thank you so much for joining us today. I am really excited to see your story on Friday, and I foresee a very bright future ahead for you in cyber.
And I'm really excited to just continue seeing you and seeing your stickers on Silver and Cyber events.
Awesome. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more live from WiCyS 2026.